In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read ancient tomes. The order of the Abercast. We are the brave and bold.
The Ages begins with the shocking story of Cain and Abel and the journey of violence and revenge spanning thousands of years, following Cain through his cursed life from an ancient invasion of malicious angels to the American Revolutionary War. A masterful, compelling journey through time, The Ages delves deep into arcane knowledge, myth, and legend. The art is stunning, and the story takes you on a journey where mortals, immortals, angels, and demons are all forced to deal with the folly that is God's creation. It's a beautifully dark and gritty ride through history. This 4-part story follows the astrological procession of the ages and how each 2,500-year age parallels major changes in the development of Earth's inhabitants. Cain's blasphemous struggle with the divine and sacred tyrant God will create and crumble empires, shape history, and cause a cosmic cataclysm.
Jacob left Beersheba and went towards Haran. And he came to the place and stayed there that night, because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head, and lay down in that place to sleep. He dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached into heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and your descendants. And your descendants shall be like dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east, and to the north and to the south. And by you and your descendants shall all the families of earth bless themselves. Behold, I am with you, and I will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done that of which I have spoken to you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I know it not. And he was afraid, and he said, This place is terrible. This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Afterwards, Jacob names this place Bethel.
The Abercast. Occult. History. Conspiracy. Violence.
All right, welcome to the Abercast. Before we go any further, I'd also like to tell you guys that there's no trigger warnings today. I guess unless you're a monarch of England. My first prose short story is out in a book called Fiends of the Flesh. You can find a link to it in the show notes. I did a a story in it, and also I did the cover for it. So if you're a devotee of the show, you probably know all about it already. Also, prog rock band called Novus. They just released a little EP. I did the cover art for that. Fucking heavy metal artwork for that shit. There's also a link down in the show notes if you guys just want to check the art out. That's fine. I'm putting finishing touches on The Revenge in a Saloon Called Hell. I bellyached about that for a couple minutes on last week's episode, so just want to let you know, lettering is getting done. About to finalize the fuck out of it. So tonight, I came to this story a few different ways. One, it's a great place to start talking about the royal family without just jumping into the shape-shifting reptilian thing. But I also came in the story of this artifact sort of backwards from one of the myths it is associated with. And, by the end of this, you're going to be like, they sit on what? What the fuck is that all about anyways? And I'm like, I came to this story from the other way, from the Genesis, the story. I'm talking about Jacob's ladder, and I'm going to try to not get stuck in with the story of this character Jacob. It'll be a great story for some other time in the podcast down the way. But right now it's just like context and backstory of this thing. It's the origin story of this artifact that we're going to be talking about. We've got to start somewhere. We got to start there. And I might get a little bit of sidetracked because Jacob is definitely one of my favorite Bible characters. And there's a lot of stuff that kind of maybe fits into this that I might veer off into when we start talking about these blessings and whatnot. Because there seems to be some kind of message in this wild thing. So we'll get to that. I just want to apologize a little bit in advance. And I just want to let you know again that Jacob's like, I roll with him. He's like my homie. So there's some fascinating stories of Jacob. I'm going to try not to get all tied up in it. So what I want you to do, I want you to get your gin jihad, mix it up. I want you to anoint it in its mason jar, and I want you to set it up as a pillar, and then go ahead and put it under your chair when you get coronated, because today we are talking about the Stone of Destiny. Or as McFly would probably say it, the Stone of Density. So, before we get, we're already started into this thing. I don't know why I fucked this up, but I usually try to encourage you guys to leave a rate and review on iTunes, support the show, share it with your friends. That's a great way to support the show if you don't have any ducats to send to buy a fucking comic book, or if you for some reason don't have the 3 fucking seconds it takes to rate and review the show on iTunes. You could just share it out on your social media. But anyhow, we got to start way back in Genesis. So this early Genesis stuff, there's so much like twins and brothers stuff in this book. Like, I really used it in the Ages, the graphic novel, The Ages. I was just thinking about it while the read was playing. And there was a draft where I tried to like work this stuff in, because there's just so much of this brother versus brother shit. It's actually kind of like an echo of Cain and Abel, this Jacob and Esau thing that we're going to get into very lightly. I hope we don't get into it too much, but I don't know. My foot gets on the gas pedal sometimes. So we're going to start way back in Genesis. And we're going to talk about this guy, Jacob. He goes on to be the patriarch of the Israelites. And his story is like this smear of younger brothers getting blessed before their older brothers do, and like stealing their blessing. So let's just talk about this blessing for a minute. Like, the way that I understand this, when we talk about these early blessings, especially when it comes from like father or grandfather to son in these Old Testaments, is it's kind of like a spell. It's kind of like a spell of awesomeness. Like, your life is going to be awesome because you were born first. You know, if I'm able to give you the blessing. Now, also, God does a lot of blessing in this story, too. He starts off, you know, he blesses Abraham. And then Abraham famously tries to shank his kid, Isaac, because God wants him to. So, happy Father's Day. And then he goes ahead and he blesses Isaac. So, Isaac has a wife named Sarah. And Sarah gets pregnant by Isaac. And this is his thing. Like, your seeds are like going to be like sands in the ocean and stars in the sky, and you're going to populate everything. This is where all this shit actually happened. This actually happens. Like, he told Abraham, like, yo, I got you. And then he told Isaac, like, yo, I got you too. Like, your family's going to be this bomb. It's going to be huge and stuff. And this is when it actually kicks into high gear, this whole story. And I know you're like, what does this have to do with the fucking stone of destiny? What does it even mean? Just stick with me, guys. So Isaac, in old age, he's got these two sons. They're twins. One of them's name is Esau. The oldest one's name is Esau. The other one's name is Jacob. And Esau comes out a couple seconds first. But the story, the story's like, yo, they came out real close together. It's like Jacob was actually holding Esau's ankle when he slides out. So it's like, really, anyone, it's like when you have to take a picture for the horse races to figure out whose nose is across the line first. But anyhow, Jacob is kind of like, he gets into wrestling later. You're like, what the fuck? But he wrestles an angel, and when he does, he's the bad guy of the story if it was a professional wrestling story. So I kind of cast Jacob as a heel. Like, in his whole life, he's just doing crazy shit. And this shit that he does is he dresses up like his big brother Esau. Esau is like, he's like a woodsman, like he's like an outdoorsy guy. And Jacob's like, they call him a man of the tents. So he doesn't like to go outside. This is where also the thing where it's like a echo of Cain and Abel, because it's set up the exact same way. You know, Cain's like, he's just walking around collecting twigs and berries for his sacrifices and shit. His brother Abel's like out there like fucking slaying deers and stuff for like a burnt offering. So it's just like an echo of this, except this is why I was interested in it for my book, because Jacob does a heel turn and he gets over on Esau, and he dresses up like Esau, and his dad's old and blind and shit. And he was like, hey man, he wraps his arms in like goat fur from like a skinned goat, because Esau's famously hairy. So he gets the blessing. The youngest son gets the blessing over Esau. And then Jacob, later in life, after he goes on all these misadventures, and we're going to get into it, I'm just trying to explain the blessing, the spell, the awesomeness spell of it. He goes on to have 12 sons and a daughter. Jacob, who is now called Israel sometimes, I don't know, God changes his name, but he goes by both anyways. I don't know if one of them's last name, whatever. He winds up dying. They're like in Egypt. Yeah, I'll get to it later. Just, what do you mean they're in Egypt? They're in Egypt, man. That's what I'm telling you. So they're in Egypt, and he's like, hey man, I'm dying. Get all my kids and my grandkids in here. I'm gonna bless everybody. So he starts handing out blessings. He's like, blessing for you and blessing for you, and you got a good blessing. But he also fucks some of these kids over for shit that they did. Like this Reuben character who apparently had a brush with incest. He was like, I'm going to give you a blessing, but it's going to be awful. And then there's a couple other ones that he fucks over with his magical blessing spell. But they all wind up to become they all wind up to become heads of their tribes. So there's 12 sons, and they turn into 12 tribes. And he winds up blessing his favorite son is his youngest son, Joseph. We all know because of this electric fucking coat thing that's on Steinfeld, the electric pimp jacket or whatever it's called. But I'm going to touch on this story in a little bit. But just for the blessing thing, like his youngest son is his favorite son, which kind of goes against this whole blessing spell thing that he's got to do. So he's like, yo, well, I'm blessing all these other fools. Get my grandkids over here. Your kids, I'm going to bless them too. So he's kind of blessing the youngest son, Joseph. He blesses him with like a super blessing. And then he's like, get the 2 grandkids over here. And then he blesses them out of order. He gives the youngest son, Ephraim, the super spell blessing. And he gives Masima the regular blessing. He's the older child. But Joseph saw what he was doing. He was like, yo, no, it doesn't work. It's supposed to be the other way around. And Jacob's looking at him like, yo, I got it covered. I've been dealing with these blessings my whole fucking life. I know what I'm doing. All right, under the category of blessing talk, I think we're done for a little while. But yeah, this, he's just this sneaky heel. He's the guy that would hide brass knuckles in his trunks if he was fighting somebody. That's all that I'm saying. So, because he fucked his older brother out of his birthright by wrapping his arms with goat hair, he's got to bounce, because his brother was like, as soon as this old man dies, I'm fucking killing Jacob. He said that's in quotes in the Bible. He fucking says that. He doesn't. Whatever. So Jacob finds himself in the land of Luz, and he's on his way to Haran. And he's like, remember, he's a man of the tents. So he's like not comfortable with being outside. And he's like, on top of that, he's scared to death that his brother's going to come and kill him. And this is the exact opposite thing of what's happening when he returns to Canaan. Oh, I just thought of that. Where he's, instead of fleeing from Esau for his life, when he returns to Canaan, he's going back towards Esau, and he's like, yo, I hope we can work this out, and I hope you don't have to kill me, but if you do, whatever. Anyhow, I'm veering off topic. So he makes a pillow out of this rock in the night, and then he had this wild dream of Jacob's ladder, which is awesome. There's William Blake is one of my favorite painters. I don't like his poetry too much. I don't understand poetry, but he works in watercolors, and he painted a bunch of like Old Testament and Revelation stories, and he painted Jacob's ladder. It's called Jacob's Dream, and it's awesome. So Google that. So he's got this wild vision of these angels going up and down on these stairs, and when he wakes up, he's terrified. He's freaking out. The translation of the story that I read is there's way crazier ones, but yeah. So he wakes up and he's like, "Yo, this place is terrible," which is funny because it reminds me of that when you're entering Rosalind Chapel. And there's an engraving that says "Est terrible locus esti." That's what that means. This is a terrible place. And they're like, well, it doesn't really translate. It doesn't really keep up. But I'm telling you, if God put the fear of shit of life into you, like, you might think it's a fucking terrible place too. And, it might not be anything like this painting that I was talking about. It might be awful. Like, it might be crazy terrifying. I imagine it as like a crazy, illuminated, maybe transparent Babylonian ziggurat. Huge, like taking up your whole field of vision, and these angels like floating up and down and like lightning. It would be fucking heavy metal, son. That's what it would be like. So I'm going to talk about this ladder itself for a second. Hold on, I need to lubricate. There'd be like storm clouds, like a full moon. No moon. Yeah. No moon. So this ladder itself is a metaphor it's a metaphor. They call it an axis mundi, which means axis of the world. It is the point in which the material world spins. And it's important to understand this axis mundi thing because of what Jacob does next. This axis mundi is a link between heaven and earth. It's a connection between the sacred space of heaven and the profane space of the material world. So I'm just going to take a minute to talk. So he wakes up, and the first thing he does is he puts the stone that he was sleeping in upright, making it into a pillar. So this pillar becomes kind of like the axis mundi, and he anoints this pillar with oils. You anoint it with oils, and it becomes like super important. So I'm just going to take a second to talk about pillars, because this is just one pillar. Usually in these stories or in this imagery, you're looking at two pillars. And the reason that is because David's son, the wise King Solomon, built the first temple. This is going to come into play later. So there's going to be a quiz at the end of the podcast. So he builds this temple in Jerusalem, and some places call it the patio. I don't know if I would agree that it's a patio, but before you walk in, there's these two pillars. And these pillars have names. These Jews, they run around, they name everything. So there's Boaz and Yakin. Boaz is the left pillar, and it's the pillar of strength. It's the kingly pillar. And then there's Yakin is the right pillar, and it's the pillar of establishing, and it's the priestly pillar. So because we're talking about, because we're going to wind up talking about these coronation rituals and stuff, we're looking at like a proto Boaz. Boaz, I know, I talked about him in the Golem and Jewish Wizardry podcast episode, but I base one of my comic book characters off of this pillar, and this is like a proto version of this pillar, but there's only one, because these pillars don't come into action until after David, until David's son Solomon becomes the king. That's where these pillars come from. So, I mean, we're talking about these are like Masonic rituals, and this is where like the black and white checkered floor comes from. And some people even think like when you throw up the devil horns at a rock fucking concert, that's what you're doing with your fingers, is you're creating that ritual space by your fingers are actually becoming or symbolizing these two pillars. These pillars are crazy. If you guys remember my conversations with Robert Sullivan IV, we talk about decoding movies and stuff. I brought up, whenever you see these two pillars, look around, because there could be other shit there, and that's what you got to look at. It's the two towers, it's the all this stuff. At the Weight Rider deck of the tarot cards, card number 2 of the upper arcana, is the High Priestess, and she sits between two pillars, and the pillars say B and J, and then like on her neck piece, there's like a little plus sign. So you could look at it as like the High Priestess is doing blowjobs, or she's actually talking about this. It's actually talking about this pillar, this Boaz and this Joaquin pillar. And it's really the latter. It's these pillars. So the kingly pillar and the priestly pillar, and this is like Solomon, these proto versions of this, where Solomon unites these two in the temple and with himself. And he keeps like the Ark of the Covenant in like the back room, and we're actually going to talk about that in a little while. So I think what we're looking at here is the proto-kingly pillar, a proto-Boazian pillar. This is going to be a long one. I'm on page 2. Okay, so he anoints this thing, and he calls it his pillar, And then Jacob goes on to do some other wild stuff. He marries these two sisters. He wrestles the archangel Metatron and forces him to bless him. And he changes his name to Israel. And then, but like I said, he goes by both these names. Anyways, the story goes, he has these 12 sons, and each of these sons become the leader of his own tribe, the tribes of Israel. And this stone, this Axis Mundi, sticks around with these tribes, and he says there it's to act as a witness to the history of the tribes of Israel. In Joshua 24:26, it says, "And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and took a great stone and set it up under an oak, and that was the sanctuary of the Lord." We're talking about the same stone. This happens over and over again. Joshua 24:27, the next thing. "And Joshua said unto all these people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it hath heard all the words of the Lord, which he spake unto us. And shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your God." Okay, so you guys should see my notes for this episode. Okay, so he's got this rock, and they carry it around with them. They carry it around with them wherever they go, and Jacob has a bunch of kids, and his like I said, his favorite son was Joseph. And he gave Joseph this coat of many colors. And everyone just thinks this is like a patchwork, like a quilted kind of coat or something. But I really think it's like gang colors. It's like each tribe has their own gang color. And Joseph was given a coat with all the gang colors on there, saying that he's going to be like over all of them. He's going to be over everybody, but they just go on like with this thing. Like he's like Saruman of many colors or whatever. Anyhow, the other brothers were jealous of him. See, that makes more sense now, doesn't it? Like they weren't jealous of him because he had a fucking stupid coat. They were jealous of him because he was going to be put above everybody. He was going to be put in charge of all of their fucking tribes and stuff. So they took him and they sold him into slavery. And so he goes to Egypt. That's where all the slaves go in these stories. Egypt, the dark, place. One of these days I'm going to do an episode on the hem of the pearl. It's an old Gnostic poem, I guess. It's sweet. But they do the same thing. So he goes and he actually becomes Pharaoh's right-hand man because he can like interpret his dreams and stuff, and he gives good counsel. He's like Tywin Lannister. He's like, no, this is what it means. Oh, we're going through a drought. Here's what we got to do. Oh, we're having a famine. Like, look, this is what we got to do. We got to do 7 years on, 7 years off, sell all the shit, and we'll be good. That's really the advice he gives him in a nutshell, and it works out just fine. So he becomes Pharaoh's right-hand man, and then in one of these times, these guys from Cana, his brothers, show up to buy rice or grain or something from these Egyptians, and he remembers them, but they do not recognize him because he's a man of stature. He's like he's got the second hardest dick in the kingdom. Like, he's like the number 2 guy. So he goes to them and he's like, "Yo, bros, I forgive you for selling me into slavery." And then he's like, "Hey, bros, why don't you bring the old man to Egypt? I'll take care of him, bring all of his stuff." So they brought all of his stuff to Egypt. So the pillar goes to Egypt. This rock goes to Egypt. And eventually, Pharaoh dies, and the pharaohs down the line don't remember how awesome Joseph was. And eventually this leads to, a sense of blah, blah, blah with these Jews and their whatever. So they wind up getting enslaved. And then when Moses leads the slaves out of Egypt during Exodus, they take the stone with them. They actually say they wound up like pillaging like the whole kingdom. When these slaves bolted, they bolted with a lot of stuff. Some translations say they were gifts, but come on now. Gifts. So eventually they settle back in the promised land, and eventually David becomes king. I'm skipping over like hundreds of years worth of shit, okay? 'Cause I'm trying to get caught back up. David used this stone as his throne, and King David's lineage has been coronated on this throne. David's son, the wise Solomon, keeps it in his temple. Now, Solomon, I could probably do a whole episode on this guy too. He builds this temple with fucking genies. When I was doing my research for the Jinn Jihad, he's got a magic ring that commands genies, and he's using these genies to build his fucking temple. Now, the Freemasons would argue that fact. They say Hiram Habif built the temple, and then he got murdered for the secrets of Freemasonry, or the secrets of cutting stones, or whatever. Oh, I gotta pace myself, man. Anyhow, he keeps it in his temple. The first temple. He keeps it in the first temple. I gotta keep remembering that it's the first temple because it makes sense later. But yeah, this is the Freemasonic. This is the Freemasonic temple that we hear so much about. Eventually, there's this guy named Jeremiah. Jeremiah, they call him the Weeping Prophet. He was called into his ministry around 626 BC, and God sent him a vision of Jerusalem being destroyed because of Baal worshippers. These Baal worshippers, it's actually funny. I forgot to reference Pizzagate, the Pizzagate episode, but this has a dubious link to the Pizzagate episode way back in the early part of the show. But they're burning these children. These Baal worshippers are burning their kids. But Jeremiah was a bummer. He just was gloom and doom all the time. There were these plots against him. He was persecuted and he had these run-ins with these false prophets because his message was on point. Like, these other prophets were like, no, God, it says everything's fine. It's just fine. Everything's cool. The city is not going to crumble at all. Pfft. The temple's going to be fine. Everyone's going to be fine. So he is fucking like running around with a yoke. He builds a yoke and he writes the scripture on it. And he's fucking dragging this yoke on his neck around the fucking town with this. He was exiled. And then when shit went bad, he and his scribe and 3 of the king's daughters bolted from Egypt. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, fucking goes crazy, destroys the temple. These guys bolt. And when they bolt, I know you're like, yo, John, what the fuck does this have to do with the fucking rock that you're telling us all about? And and I'm saying when Jeremiah bolts with these daughters, he's bolting with the rock. He's taking the rock with him. On with the story. An old elderly white-haired saint, Jeremiah, came to Ireland. Oh, now you get it. He's in Ireland. With him was the princess who was the daughter of an Eastern king, and a guy named Simon Brock. The royal party included the son of the King of Ireland, who had been in Jerusalem. They actually went to Jerusalem and they ran to Tanis. I'll get to it later. And at the time of the siege. And he became acquainted with the princess whose name was Tia Tefi. And they married shortly after in 585 BC. When the city fell, they wound up having a son, and besides this royal family, Jeremiah brought with him some remarkable things, including a harp, think Guinness, an ark, think Indiana Jones, and a wonderful stone called the Leah Fail, or the Stone of Destiny, or the Coronation Stone. This comes from the London Times, June 18th, 1911. The migrations of the Stone of Destiny since the days of when it served Jacob for a pillow at Bethel, or come into the possession of Skoda, daughter of Pharaoh, and by the way of Spain to Ireland and to Scotland and to England, were tales of our childhood from which we do not readily part company. So look, they changed the name of this fucking thing and they just keep it going. So I'm going to take a second here because they introduced this thing, this Skoda thing. This comes from Scottish or Irish myth where this lady comes from Skoda. She comes from Egypt, and this is actually where the word Scotland comes from. But we're going to stick to these other stories. There's a story of King Hezekiah's 3 daughters finding their way to England and doing ritual magic at Stonehenge. And Tia Tefi was one of these. She was the princess of the tribe of Dan, daughter of King Zedekiah. She married into the royal family. Some folks still count this as part of a modern royal pedigree, as we'll see in a little while. We should talk about Elizabeth II. The tribe of Dan, this is just my footnote, my observation. The tribe of Dan were all justice-oriented. They were the judges. And one of their symbols was a scale. So this might be why they're interested in keeping this witness around. Anyhow, Jeremiah took these relics and this princess to Tanis. Before they hit Ireland, they went to Tanis. In Tanis, this is why Indiana Jones starts they start with the Jovitos. But after they get briefed by the FBI, he's like, oh, we got to go to Tanis. And this is why, is because in this myth or this folklore, in this story, the Stone of Destiny and the Ark went to Tanis and got buried in the sand. I don't know. I didn't find the buried in the sand, buried in the desert part of it, but it's such a fucking heavy metal part of Indiana Jones. Buried in the sand for 1,000 years. Okay, so we're going to get into I'm going to try to get through some of this pretty fast. Some of the, quote, history, unquote, of the stone once it reaches Ireland. You're like, I thought we were talking about Elizabeth II, the Queen of England. Hang on, bros. I'll get you up to speed in 2 seconds. Okay, maybe not that fast. A lot of this comes from this guy. I think his name's Muad'Dib. It's weird. I know that's a character from Dune, but I found this. I found a interview with him on Facebook. Maybe I'll drop it in the Abercast Facebook page. But he goes through a lot of the stuff fast, so I kind of got a lot of the stuff from him. I think he's one of these guys that thinks he could say, hey, I'm not part of your legal system, so none of your laws apply to me. So he just changes his name to Muad'Dib. I think that's what his fucking name is. Anyhow, I'll post these fucking interviews up so you guys can see them. But a lot of this stuff comes right from him, so I needed to tell you that. So we're gonna go with this Tia Tefi story. So they get to Ireland. She marries this High King of Ireland whose name is Eohead. And they were married over the Stone of Destiny at around 583 before Christ. In 581, good old Jeremiah dies. They bury the ark and he dies. So the ark and the stone are separated. Sometimes they make a big deal of this. I don't know. Queen Teotefi and the king Eohid kind of watch out for the stone for the next couple hundred years. And their line watches out for the stone until around 500 BC. So the stone is on a specific mound in Tara, the region of Tara of England. So until about 500 AD. So that's a long fucking time. There are these two sort of feuding brothers, Murdoch and Ferguson. I just love it. In my brain, it's a sitcom based in 500 AD where they're like, no, they paint like a line through their hut and they're like, you can't come onto my side of the hut and you can't, or the castle, I don't know. Murdoch and Ferguson, get the fuck out of here. So Ferguson was the youngest one, so he couldn't rule Ireland. So instead what was going on is a lot of the Irish were naturally migrating to Scotland at the time. So he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go across the ocean, and I'm just going to be the king of the Irish Scots, the Ireland Scots. And he was like, yo, can I borrow your fucking coronation stone? Because they are not going to respect me if I don't sit on this thing when I'm being coronated. So Murdoch, the eldest of the Murdoch and Ferguson kids, says, yeah, go ahead, take the stone. So the stone goes over to Ireland, or to Scotland, and Ferguson's like, yo, as soon as I sit on this stone and the priests say spells at me, I'll send it right back. Well, he never does. He never sends it back. He makes it to Scotland he makes it, the Rock makes it to Scotland at around 810 or so. No, hold on. The Rock makes it to Scotland, period. Around the year 810 or so, the son of a picked princess, this guy named Kenneth MacAlpin, becomes king, and he unites the Irish Scots and the Picts. This guy basically invented Scottish people, and this is where this is where the fucking story ramps up. He moved the stone to Scone. I don't know if there's a church there already, but he moves the stone to Scone, and the stone actually becomes known in one of its many names. It's like Apollo Creed. This fucking thing. It's got 100 nicknames. It's known as the Stone of Scone, and there it sat. All the kings and queens were coronated on this thing at Scone for hundreds of years until what? Dun dun dun. 12. The year is 1296. Edward the First. Edward Longshanks. If you guys, I'm sure you guys have all seen Braveheart. This is the fucking dude. This is the fucking dude that did it. 1296. Edward the Longshanks destroyed the Scottish king John Balliol and beat the Scots at Bannockburn. Now, Braveheart is so crazy. I love the movie so much, but it's so historically inaccurate. Like, you know, Scots at this time, they weren't wearing kilts. They wore pants, just like everybody else. They didn't wear kilts until like 300 fucking years later or something. So I hate that. And also, like, in the movie, when they talk about the Battle of Stirling, it's actually called the Battle of Stirling Bridge, but they couldn't film around a bridge. He couldn't fucking figure out how to film around a bridge. So they just called it the Battle of Stirling in the movie. But if you watch that battle, the tactics, the way that the fight panned out was actually a lot like was a lot like what actually happened at Brannickburg. So you kind of got to like mix and match, But yeah, this kilt thing is ridiculous. This kilt thing is ridiculous. I still love the movie. And I know guys who fucking wear kilts too, so they probably wouldn't wear kilts if they knew more about history. They're like, no, I saw it on a Mel Gibson movie, man. I gotta wear this kilt is badass. Put your goddamn pants on. All right. So, and also this name, Belial, John Belial, like they talk about that in Braveheart too. They're like, oh, you support the Belial's clan. Like, so it's like it flirts with history, but it's so fucked up. So he took this, after he destroyed these fucking Scots, this asshole takes the stone, he steals the stone and he takes it to Westminster Abbey. And he makes someone build a coronation throne. So this throne, he makes it to house the stone. So it has this, so it's this ugly beat up chair. And underneath the chair is like a little kind of shelf. And the shelf's like supported by these little golden lions. And in the shelf, they put this stone. Now, I make it kind of sound chintzy, but you have to understand this stone is like fucking 400 something pounds. So this thing's got to be like, good English craftsmanship to hold this rock up off the ground. So what it is like, think about a chair that's supported by 4 legs. And then think about a little kind of tray or something that slides underneath that chair, but it's held up off the ground. That's what this coronation throne is like. So this little shelf is held up by 4 gold lions. The monarch from then on, like the next person that got coronated in like 1307, I think. So from 1307 on, every king, every queen that was ever coronated sat on this fucking chair with this rock underneath them. Why? I don't know. It has something to do with these blessings. It has something to do with like being an Axis Mundi. It has something to do with like stories about the rock would yell if the correct king wasn't sitting on it. Like, do you really think that this relic is an Old Testament relic? Do you really think this is where Jacob fucking rested his head when he had a vision of the Jacob's ladder? I don't know. After 700 years, after 700 years after Longshanks took it, in 1996, the stone was repatriated to Scotland with the promise that it would always be sent back to Westminster Abbey for all future coronations. So these guys were like, hey, we'll give you back your fucking rock if we could take it back whenever we need to have one of our people put a funny hat on and get spells casted at them so they could tell us what to do. So to this day, the stone sits under a bulletproof glass in Edinburgh Castle, just sitting. A lot of people think that this is fucked up, like it's not being used, which is why the British Empire is kind of collapsing. And, there's like this Brexit thing. They're like, it's this King Arthur sort of vibe where it's like, it's not where it's supposed to be, so everything's getting fucked up. And there's also this other guy, I can't remember what his fucking name is, but he wrote a book called, I can't even remember what the name of the book is called. It's called The American and Britain in Prophecy, that talks a lot about this thing when Jacob blessed Joseph's 2 sons out of order. It has a lot to do with like, one of them represents America and one of them represents Britain. It's just, I don't know, it's a weird like Mormon thing. I don't know what the fuck it is. But that's out there. If you're interested in that, that's out there. I didn't get into it. This fucking story is so exhausting. It's so exhausting.
Vienna, 1683. Today is September 11th, 1683. The mighty army of the Ottoman Empire, led by the savage and radical terror troops of the Dar al-Harb, surround the walled city of Vienna and begin a siege to break the golden apple of Europe and kill, enslave, or convert all of its inhabitants. The valiant citizens stand against the tyrannical army with the steadfast leadership of Count Ernst Rudiger von Stromberg, the help of the ever-living rebel Cyrus the Dead Guy, and the hopes of the faraway King Jan Sobieski III and his army of flying hussars. The Vienna 1683 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us. The Non-Standard Squad, 1944. World War II. 3 weird American soldiers are on a search and rescue mission into the oldest and darkest regions of Europe. A cursed, ever-living warrior, Cyrus the Dead Guy. An experimental warbot, Sergeant Lane McCord. An all-red axe, mysterious rogue with a demon-possessed arm, come face-to-face with an army of magically corrupted, machine-obsessed elves, a magic hammer-wielding Norse Ubermensch, and a Nazi wizard who is a member of the ancient Dark Order of the Shining Hexagon. The Non-Standard Squad 1944 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us.
All right, so this is the part of the show where I go, guys, please, everybody, please rate and review me. And you all just ignore me. And then I go, you could share it with your friends, too. Like, your friends, your weird friends that like this stuff probably might like this show, too. And then I go, hey, you guys can pick up some comics. That supports me and the show. Or I go to stigmatastudios.com. Sign up for the newsletter. You can also find links to where you can purchase all the comic books and graphic novels at that time. And then I go, hey, if you're wondering what you're going to do with the rest of your workday, you could go to society-13.com to find other great podcasts, like Queens of NC-17, like Prog Watch with Squadron Watch, like The Wicked Library, like The Lift, like Kettle Whistle Radio, like the pop off with Martise. So, there. I just got through all that stuff. If you guys would like to help me, that's the kind of stuff that you would do to help. Well, you think it's just ending? Like that's how easy it's gonna be? I got some other stuff. I want to play the coronation of Queen Elizabeth for you here in a second. You want to hear how weird it is? She's putting the golden emperor cloak on. Weirdos. And I'd like your help if you would give it to me. So here. This is the 1953 coronation of Queen Elizabeth. It's a lot of silence, but when these guys talk, gold just falls out.
And she puts on the great golden mantle, the imperial robe.
Imperial robe.
This imperial robe, the Lord your God endue you with knowledge and wisdom,
Nope.
majesty power from on high.
Her power
Lord,
from on
clothe
high.
you with the robe of righteousness and with the garment of salvation.
And receives the orb, the world under Christ's dominion.
The world under Christ's
The ring of
dominion,
sapphire and ruby.
made of sapphire and ruby.
Receive this orb set under the cross, and remember that the whole world is subject to the power and empire of Christ our Redeemer. Receive the royal scepter, the ensign of kingly power and justice.
See, they just talked about kingly power. Interesting.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy. Be so merciful that you be not too remiss. So execute justice that you forget not mercy. Punish the wicked. Protect and cherish the just.
Here comes this old Emperor Palpatine looking fuck with the crown on a pillow.
God crown you with a crown of glory and righteousness, that having a right faith and manifold fruit of good works, you may obtain the crown of an everlasting kingdom by the gift of him whose kingdom endureth forever. Amen.
Prince Charles, the Duke of Cornwall, has joined the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret and has taken part in the splendid moment of his mother's crowning.
All right, this shit is putting me to sleep. Like, I sit here and like go through this with you, and I'm done. So thank you guys for listening. Please share, please like, please review. I can't say it enough. And buy some comic books if you'd like. If you would like to, I understand if you don't, but if you do, it would be better.